Next, the Apostle Paul lists in verse 9 to another faith by the same Spirit. Well, the word faith is the Greek word pistis, which is simply the Greek word for faith. I'm going to read to you from page 38 in Why We Need the Gifts of the Holy Spirit. In 1 Corinthians 12:9, Paul included faith in his list of spiritual gifts. This is not natural faith, which every person possesses. We know that because in Romans 12:3, Paul clearly taught that every single person is given a measure of faith. Everyone has a measure of faith. But in this context, in 1 Corinthians 12:9, Paul was referring to special faith, otherwise known as the gift of faith. This spiritual gift is manifested as a sudden impartation of the Holy Spirit, a supernatural, special faith at a critical moment to accomplish God's purpose or desire in a particular situation or event. And when this supernatural burst of faith is suddenly released in a believer by the Spirit, that believer is empowered to believe the impossible is doable in order to accomplish what can only be done supernaturally. It is a burst of faith. I call it special faith. And an example would be found in Acts chapter 14, where Paul was preaching to a group of pagans when suddenly he sensed a release of special faith, the gift of faith. And in that moment, Paul called upon a lame man to stand and to walk in obedience to Paul's command of special faith. The lame man arose and walked, completely made whole in an instant. Paul recognized the divine moment when the gift of special faith burst into operation, and he acted on it, and as a result, the impossible was manifested as a reality in the natural realm. That is special faith, or the gift of faith. But wait, there's more. Paul goes on, and in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, he says to another, faith by the same Spirit, and to another, the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. And notice the word gifts is plural, which means the gift of healing comes in all shades, in all shapes, all colors. The word healing is the Greek word ieomai. And my friend, this is very, very important because the word ieomai is an old word that means to cure or to be doctored. It depicts a healing power that progressively reverses a condition and mostly denotes a healing that comes to pass over a period of time. It is often translated as the word treatment or cure or remedy, and again, depicts a sickness that is progressively rather than instantaneously healed. And I want to read you about this from page 39. In 1 Corinthians 12:9, Paul also listed gifts of healing as a gift of the Spirit. It is significant that the word gifts is plural because it tells us there are different aspects of this spiritual manifestation, and all of them are designed to produce healing, but in a sundry of ways. It's also noteworthy that the word healing is the Greek word ieomai, which means to cure. This word would even describe being doctored by a physician. This is important because a medical doctor doesn't normally produce instantaneous results for his patient. He prescribes medication or orders some procedure that eventually cures the one needing to be healed. And likewise, this gift of the Holy Spirit, called the gifts of healing, is very often a supernatural cure that begins with a prayer or with the laying on of hands, but the healing may take full effect over a period of time. Although divine in nature, the word healing used here nonetheless refers to a progressive result. And an example would be Luke chapter 17, when Jesus met a group of lepers who needed his healing touch. And Luke 17:14 says, these lepers were healed and cleansed as they went. This was a manifestation of the gift of healing, a supernatural touch of the Holy Spirit that generally occurs over a period of time and that ultimately cures a person from his ailment. But wait, then when you come to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10, Paul went on to list the working of miracles as a gift that the Holy Spirit distributes as He wills. And the working of miracles is not the same as the gift of healing. The gift of healing is something that is progressive, but the working of miracles is something that is instantaneous. Let me read this to you. Working of miracles in Greek is from the word energeo and the word dunamis. The word energeo, oh my friend, this is so powerful. The word energeo pictures energy. The word dunamis speaks of a power or force of nature like a hurricane, tornado, or earthquake, or even the full advancing force of an army. When you put these words together, it depicts an energizing of terrific power that is beyond human ability to perform. And in the Bible, it describes miraculous, instantaneous manifestations. And let me read to you from this verse. The Greek text actually says the operation of powers. That is literally what the Greek says. With this phrase, Paul describes a divine operation of supernatural power that overrides natural laws and quickly does what is not naturally possible. When pertaining to the human body, the working of miracles usually occurs in a split second, when, for example, a damaged organ or limb is instantly and supernaturally healed or restored. God's power suddenly speeds up a healing process that would normally take place over a long period of time, or that would perhaps never naturally occur, and in the blink of an eye, the process is miraculously complete. Another example of the working of miracles would be a supernatural overriding of the laws of nature that enables one to do what no human could naturally do. An example would be when Jesus walked on the water, or another example is when Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes. This was a critical moment when the power of God instantly transformed and supernaturally multiplied the portions of food that Jesus held in His hand. And although this instantaneous multiplication of physical matter is impossible in the natural, the power of God overrode the laws of nature and enabled the impossible to miraculously come to pass. And in Greek, it is called the operation of powers. The King James translates it the working of miracles, given the sense that it is miraculous and it is instantaneous.